someone who, if you ask them a simple question, will give you an answer that's more than you expected? Well, that's Jesus in the gospel that we just heard today. Because the scribe asked Jesus a simple question: what is the first of all the commandments? And anyone who knew the law of Moses could have answered that: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and strength. Now, Jesus obviously knew the law of Moses, but notice that he added a little extra. He added with all of your mind to the list of heart, soul, and strength. Why would he add with all your mind when he was talking to a scribe? Well, the scribe, his job, the job of the scribes was to interpret and to teach the law. And they also produced legal documents and deeds, and they acted as notary publics. So they had to know how to write, they had to know how to use their minds. So Jesus wanted them to love God with what they used all the time, with their minds. As if adding with all your mind wasn't enough, Jesus also added, love your neighbor as yourself. Is it easy to love your neighbor? Depends, right? Growing up, our next door neighbors were the Barnes. They were easy to love. They were a wonderful family. 60 years later, I'm still very good friends with Scott Barnes. But when we moved away, we had different neighbors. It wasn't as easy to love them. Yet we know that it's not enough just to love God. We are called to love our neighbor. Now, in 2 days, we're going to have elections. And in light of that, the admonition to love your neighbor takes on another dimension. Does loving our neighbor include those neighbors who vote for a different candidate than we do? And I can't recommend highly enough, and I bet some of you here read it yesterday. It was an online essay titled, Whatever Happens, Love Thy Neighbor. And it appeared in the online webpage of what's called the Free Press, which ironically isn't free. You have to subscribe to it. But I think you get to read a number of articles for free. Did anybody see that essay called, the title was Whatever Happens, Love Thy Neighbor? Really? Wow, I thought that this, because I know that this congregation, you're up on a lot of things, you're socially justice minded, and a lot of things like that. If you Google Free Press Love Thy Neighbor, that essay will probably be the first thing that pops up on your search engine. And I have read lots and lots and lots about the upcoming election. But whatever happens, love thy neighbor, I think is the most meaningful thing of all dozens and dozens of articles or essays that I've read. Now, getting back to the original, if you look to Jesus, you should probably expect to do more than you originally thought was sufficient. And for instance, what do you need to do to love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind? Well, over 2,000 years, we've developed the idea of a parish. And in order to have a parish, you need to have a suitable place to worship, such as this. It's hard to think of another place in Cincinnati that would be a more suitable place than this, the way its original beauty, plus the way that we modified it, I think about 25 years ago, it was remodeled. And, but you also need to have maintenance workers or a cleaning staff to clean it, or volunteers to do that kind of work. And you need people who are going to decorate it. And you need collections so that you can pay the electricity and the water bills. And keeping a parish going, in some ways, is like running a small business. You need to keep records, you need to print things, you need to be ready when people call for help. So you need a secretary, office help, you need a finance counsel. And if you have a parish school, you need a competent principal, faculty, and staff. And in these days, you need good technology. The list could go on and on and on for what you need if you're going to have a parish, if you're going to have a parish school. But how about if you're going to love your neighbor as yourselves? What do you need to do that? And that, in large part, depends on where your parish is. But in many cases, you need to care for the homeless, you need to feed the hungry. And I think those are things that you seem to do very, very well here at St. Francis Xavier. Now, before Mass, we heard the names of 8 people who had gone before you here. I imagine they all did many essential things to make St. Francis Xavier a wonderful faith community and a wonderful parish. And we can say to them, well done, good and faithful servants. So they did their part, and you might be thinking right now, well, we're doing our part right now. But after hearing today's gospel, where Jesus is asking more of the people, should you really be surprised that something has been added to what you need to do to be a good parish? I wonder if you can guess what I'm leading up to here. The Archdiocesan Beacons of Light program. Because that's introduced the idea of families of parishes. So as much as you might love St. Francis Xavier Parish, as much as you love your neighbors here at Liberty and Vine, and as much as you use your heart, soul, strength, and mind to do that, you're now being asked to do the same at St. Clement Parish, the parish where I live, and where Father Al, as we speak, is celebrating Mass this morning. Now please notice that instead of saying that you need to do this from now on, I'll be saying what we need to do. Can we share with each other? Can we learn from each other how to do faith formation? Now, I believe that Maria Clay, who's primarily at St. Clement, was here this morning, right? And so we already have some ideas on how we do things like that together. We celebrated confirmation together last week at the cathedral. Were any of you at the confirmations at the cathedral? Wasn't that beautiful? It was absolutely wonderful, and it was so great to see all of our students and young people together for that. Going forward, we can ask, what do we do together to get our youth involved in our life of faith? How do we get our schools involved? How do we evangelize together? What can we do together to promote justice, peace, and care for God's creation? I think most importantly, what can we do to celebrate Eucharist well together? So today we started Mass by looking to the past, to the people who worshiped here and loved their neighbors here. We pray that they are resting in peace. But this morning we also look to the future. We look to new ways that we can love God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our mind, with all our strength, and love our neighbors. And how we do that